Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to our webinar entitled Digital Disruption in the Era of Rapid Technology Adoption and Change, and particularly some of our thoughts around building platform businesses. I'm Kuldip Sandhu, and I am delighted to be joined with my fellow colleague, Sunando Chaudhuri as well. We are recording the webinar session. Two reasons. One, so that we can replay it and see where we can improve our presentation style, skills, and content. And secondly, there's always people that can't make the webinar, so it gives us a chance to send out that recording for others to consume it at their own time and leisure. As a quick check, and to warm everybody up for this webinar, we're going to make it very interactive. We've got some Slido polls, and we've also would like to see if the chat function is working for everybody. So could everybody quickly, just in the chat function, put their location. So type in their city that they are in, and let's see how international we are. I've done mine. I'm in London. Amna is in Abu Dhabi. London, Bangalore, East Grinstead for Michael. Melissa's in Abu Dhabi. Natalie's in London. Or Joe, Abu Dhabi. We've got Malpass. Andy Saltil is in Malpass, UK. Where that is? Okay. Are others? Anybody else would like to put in their location? Oh wow. Okay, thank you for that. That just gives us a nice feel of having such a nice, broad-ranged international audience. So welcome again. So let me just walk you through just a quick introduction on myself, and then Sunando will introduce himself. As I said, I've been involved in IT and digital technology and change and transformation for something like 25, 26 years. I started my career in the UK MOD, and then I moved, as you can see on the list of organizations I've worked there. I worked at Reuters, HP, TCS, Asia's largest outsourcing company. And then I went into management consultancy with PwC, one of the top 4 or 5. Built my own practice for a boutique consultancy. And about 5 years ago, I decided to build my own brand. And I call my own brand is called Innovative Quality Solutions. And I've been providing a number of range of services. One, interim senior IT leadership and change roles that I fulfill. And on top of that, I also provide consultancy services, CIO advisory to training services around digital transformation and IT change. And I have significant experience in public and private sectors and at an international level. You can see in there a whole list of organizations and the logos that I've worked with. And in my last assignment, I was working as a head of technology at the Excel Convention Center, and that's where I met Sunando. So he was my counterpart at EdNIC and the head of IT. And I'd love Sunando to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. And thank you, Kuldip. So I'm, as Kuldip said, I'm currently working as the head of technology in Abu Dhabi National Exhibitions Company. Been in the industry for over 2 decades now, worked with some of the leading brands with IBM for quite some time, and HP as well, and have worked around pretty much most part of the world. Never worked in Americas though, so that's one out. But yeah, worked pretty much mostly in Asia Pacific and Europe. Worked with some large organizations, medium organizations. Also did some consulting roles with KPMG during my career. So yes, I'm quite focused in technology, in program management, change management, and that's what I really enjoy. So today's topic is obviously very interesting and close to my heart on platform businesses. So hopefully all of you will enjoy and we would like to have a nice discussion as we go along. Over to you,
Absolutely.
Kuldip.
Thank you, Sunando. Um, let's just give everybody an overview of what we're going to go through. This is the storyline that we're building. And it is a bit of a story. We're sort of going over 10, 20, 30 years of change in the world and change in technology and the rise of digital technology powerhouses as they've built out their platform stories. I'm going to give you some context on the rapid kind of rise of technology and how that's been driving change and how that has moved into building out new digital business models for organizations. Um, and then I'm going to talk about the implications of how those business models and technology has driving change in organizations. Um, and Sunando is then going to do a bit of more of a deeper dive around those business models and particularly what digital platforms are and with some examples. And we'll be sprinkling examples as we go along to bring this to life. And at the end, I'm going to talk about how you start the journey of digital change because it's not an easy area and not an easy topic to grasp. But we've pioneered a digital platform for simulation training, which I'm going to share with everybody to help people start or kickstart their transformation or re-energize their digital change journey. I'm also, as we're going along, I'm meeting other people as we come along. So excuse me if I sort of go off a little bit. So let's kick off. Let's talk about the world at the macro level. We live in really uncertain times, ladies and gentlemen. There's global political and social instability. We've seen the rise of North Korea. We've seen Trumpism come and go. We've seen the UK actually cut their ties with Europe. Um, in the midst of a major conflict going on in the Middle East. Even India and Pakistan nearly went to war. And on top of that, we've been in the middle of a global pandemic, which has a significant impact not on business but lives as well. And it's been tragic for many. Um, and before that, and still continuing on, because COVID-19 has actually accelerated digital change. We're in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. We're trying to move away from fossil fuels. We're trying to go to zero carbon environments, and we've got technology and innovation that's needed to help us go on that journey. So there's plenty of change. And from a technology point of view, artificial intelligence is emerging, where we use predictive analytics to understand our businesses and with the right insights, make the right changes. And artificial intelligence and robots are going to be emerging. I think the last time I spoke to specialists in this area, they said by 2040, we will have robots which will mimic human behavior, some form of human behavior. And that's only 20 odd years away. So we're in seismic shifts globally. Um, Let me give you an example. Here's a client that I've been talking to and working with quite recently. They're one of UK's largest car manufacturers, Jaguar Land Rover, a very well-known brand. They've been going through significant change. There's been a change in their leadership team. There's been a new CEO. The CEO of Renault has come in. Um, they've been coping with the business crisis due to COVID-19, and that's disrupted their supply chain. And that's obviously then stressed their operating business model. There's been industry regulatory change in that sector because internal combustion engines are being banned over the next 10 years. So the industry is reshaping. Supply chains are being tested. There's a move to have driverless cars, the emergence of Tesla and Polestar. And And on top of that, I think customers are demanding a better human experience. Autonomous vehicles, software intensive digital services, and even sharing vehicles. So this diagram just shows you there's plenty of change going on. There's plenty of triggers that drive change. And, you know, I know, having spoken to JLR at quite a length, they are now on a digital transformation journey, and they're using technology to enable that.
I must leave it now for now.
Right, I'm going to have to put you on mute. Sorry. Sorry about that. I've got a little video that I wanted to share with everybody to give them an overview of what's happened over the last 20 odd years. And as you watch this video, it's a couple of minutes or so, but can you please keep an eye out on the companies that were leading the world in market cap in terms of US dollars, and the shift that we've seen from 1997 to 2019. Who has emerged? Because there's a real important point I'm trying to make. And Sunando, could you just tell me if you can hear the video as I play it?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you. Oops, sorry.
نعم. تقطعي لي راسي وياكي.
Excuse me, I'm just going to stop to make sure. Right. Just wanted to show you that video because what you can see is the rise of a set of companies and organizations that are very technology focused. So what you would have noticed, hopefully, is, as you can see in this slide, at the beginning of 1997, there was a large oil and gas companies that were dominating. but the companies that are now dominating the world in terms of their market cap and size are organizations like Apple, Amazon, Google, and closely followed by companies like Alibaba, Tencent. And one of the common denominating factor is that they are all technology platform based organizations. And that phenomenon or that change over the last 20 years is absolutely fascinating. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I hope I've also rested the case that actually, if you are building a platform based business, you're on the right path to becoming successful because these organizations are really successful. And just a bit on the graph on the right hand side, what that just tells you is the rapid pace and adoption of technology. It took 50 years to get to 50 million users of the car. But for the Pokemon Go game, it took 19 days to get to 50 million users. Significantly rapid adoption of technology, changing businesses, changing business models, and delivering value across continents and market sectors. But it's not an easy journey. Digital transformation and change is difficult. And the reason it's difficult, and I wanted to just share with you Martech's law, is that organizations who typically want to change can only absorb change at a slower rate in comparison to the adoption of technology. Technology changes exponentially, and as you can see in the graph, it's at a faster rate. The adoption of technology is increasing faster and faster. We're having to absorb new trends, new technologies as they emerge at a faster pace. But organizations only have certain ability to adopt those changes. And therefore, there becomes a gap between technology adoption and the rate of adoption and the rate of the business change. And that's why that then all organizations typically need to reset, or I should say transform in their market sector using technology to give them some market advantage or differentiation. And over the last few years, as I've sort of alluded to, those rapid technologies consist of things like social media, moving to mobile technology. We all have two mobiles, some three, using data and analytics, organizations moving to the cloud, and the Internet of Things has emerged as the next cycle. And there will be the next technology and the next one. So it's coming at us at all paces. So what did COVID do? Well, COVID-19 just amplified the need to work in a more digital fashion. Institutions, organizations all over the world had to move to remote working for their workforce. And they're, obviously, as organizations come back to business, there'll be a different type of working model, a hybrid, probably delivery model of work for the workforce. But this here is a survey, PwC CEO survey of March, where they got 5,000 respondents. And the question they asked is, where's the investment going to go? Where is the investment going to go over the next 3 years as a consequence of COVID-19? And all I want to show you on the far left-hand side is a bar called digital transformation. It's the highest bar, and CEOs are saying they're going to be putting their money into increasing investment in digital transformation. Some saying significantly, a greater than 10% increase, some saying between 3 to 9%. But that tells you that COVID-19 is our digitally friendly accelerator for digital change. And the point I'm making here is we've had rapid technology adoption, or companies and organizations changing their business models to platform technologies and companies, and COVID-19 has just accelerated that. And we have to cope with more change as we go along. So that what has that done? What has that done? Well, it's caused organizations to really think about their business models. What I'm going to show you now is a few of those business models, and then get your input. We're going to do a Slido poll survey to get your thoughts. So here we go. There's a few models, and please, this is not an exhaustive. These are models that we've pulled together that we think represents typical organizations who are going on a change journey. On the far left-hand side, you've got the traditional enterprise, where there's some degree of customer satisfaction. They have some products and services in the marketplace. They have linear business processes. They probably haven't mapped out their customer journey. They work in a waterfall SDLC way. They got systems that automate those business processes, and they got an on-premise infrastructure. And what they try to do is digitize and get efficiency. Model 2 is usually the traditional enterprise, but then they try to capture that digital native. They either try to acquire the digital native or become the digital native. Or there's a Model 3, which is, dare I say it, the kind of Uber, Amazon organization that was a digital native. They started with cloud services, software as a service, infrastructure service, platform as service. They use analytics to understand their customer data to give them insights. They're agile, they're innovative, they're always looking for what's next. They work in various modes. They will continually reinvent their business model to align with their customer needs. They've mapped out their customer journey, they automate it, and everything is online. That is typically the business model for a platform organization-based business. Now, what I'd like people to do is to give us their thoughts on where their organization is against these three models. So what I'd like you to think about is, in your own organization, which model are you in? Or which model are you transitioning between? Do you think you're in between 1 and 2? Are you between 2 and 3? Or do you sit in 1, 2, or 3? And if you're a consultant, pick a model that you know which is relevant for your client or clients that you know. Yeah, so you can participate in this poll survey. And just to give you some frame of reference around digital change, you tend to have a backbone infrastructure for IT and the digital platforms, which are separate. So you got your backbone where you're maintaining your core, and then you got your digital platforms on the far right, which are based on those cloud services. So the digital native tends to have both of these going on, and you have API linkages linking the backbone infrastructure and systems with the front end agile digital platforms that are developed. That's just to give you some context of what these organizations look like or I'm going towards. So at this stage, I'm going to call upon your patience, because I'm going to switch over, ask you to go to Slido. If you go to slido.com, there's a number there that says 142342 for you to go to that Slido show and answer the options in Slido. And I'm going to give Sunando the reins to administer that Slido poll. So if I just switch host, if you bear with me, Sunando.
Yeah, it's fine.
I've made you the host now.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen.
Yep.
And should be able to see my screen now.
Wow, it's fantastic. I can actually see the audience because you're quite isolated when you're on your own.
Can you see the?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so again, if somebody has not managed to log into slido.com, you can use your. I'm looking at two screens, so just bear with me, please. Yes. So yeah, you can use the QR code which is there on the top left-hand corner, and still reach the question.
So remember, are you a traditional enterprise? Are you a digital native? Or are you in between those two where you try to acquire a digital native, or are you transitioning between traditional and being a digital? It's interesting. When I look at the widespread,
Yeah.
we've got at least 20, 30 people on this webinar. We've only had 5 votes, so we need some. We really do. We'd like to encourage.
You can use, yeah, you can use any device that you're using if you have logged in to this webinar using your mobile or laptop or any device which has internet connection. Just go slido.com and you should be able to put in the number if anybody is having a challenge to find it. 9 responses now, with another 30 seconds.
In between traditional and hybrid. So there's a process, there's a transition what I'm thinking of here, Sunando, there's a transition process going on from becoming the traditional to the hybrid.
Yes.
Whilst there's a few that actually believe they're a digital enterprise, and some, there's a small percentage, is that 7%, actually think they're digitally mature?
Yes, 7%, yes.
Yeah. So please continue to vote. We've got up to 15 people. We'd like more. We know there's at least, my last count, at least 30 people on the webinar.
Yeah.
I think that I might do it as well, if you don't mind me doing that, Sunando.
Yeah, sure. I would request everybody, if anybody is having a problem, just use the QR code. That would be the easiest way to log in.
And please stay with Slido because we've got a few other polls coming up.
Yeah.
Please don't navigate away because we've got a couple more coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got 50.
Last call. Should we give it another 10 seconds or so?
Yes, I think so. I think it's interesting to see, Kuldip and others who are listening in, to see actually around 6% of people saying they are a digitally mature enterprise, beyond digital enterprise. So which is really good to know. And maybe when we open up our session towards the end for Q&A, it would be good to hear from them.
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to hear what makes them digitally mature, and because as we go through what the platform companies are, that'd be great. Should we move on?
Yeah, I think so. So I'll continue with the slides.
Yeah, sure.
All right, thank you, everybody. And can you see my next slide?
Yeah, and I was gonna just give a few examples. That digital native organization, remember that platform business which is enabled through technology. Here's some examples. There might be, telemedicine has been on the rise, where doctors and carers and nurses can now assess patients remotely, and because we've got cameras and robots that can, transmit data so that triage can happen very quickly. There are, in the farming sector, cameras and machine learning is helping farmers to plot and dish out insecticides at the right time, in the right time of the year, depending on the weather, making it much more efficient. Then in the banking sector, there's been lots of new entrants in the banking sector, particularly in the UK, one of those being Starling, and there's others who have now started to give a much faster, quicker, rapid customer experience. When I presented this and opened this to a conversation with others, I said, why did you switch to a Starling bank? And a lot of people say they're able to open their account within hours and they get really good customer support. and that's through having they're being digitally connected and being supported digitally. Do press on, Sunando.
Yep.
And so what in terms of me just wrapping up before I hand over to Sunando around platforms, what does that mean for organizations? So if we move on, digital transformation as a summation is now become the new battleground. If you can reinvent your business model to enhance your customer experience, which could aid growth, profitability, revenue increases, but also it can help you become more efficient. Technology can act as that source of competitive advantage and differentiation for your organization or institution. Thank you, Sunando. And what are those digital trends? There's some here. And those digital trends, plus those cultural trends I've talked about, and those business kind of changes or triggers, really has caused the IT department to work in different ways as well. There's an impact on the business, but there's an impact on IT, and IT need to work very closely with the business on digital transformation programs. And that's where you're looking, not it's above and beyond the traditional IT. You're looking at how you can use disruptive technology and at pace to change your business model to deliver new products and services at pace to give you that customer advantage. Thank you, Sunando. If you press the next slide. Back to my Jaguar Land Rover scenario. This is why they are some of the trends and technologies that they are going to be focusing on. Self-driving vehicles, big data analytics to drive their business functions, how they can use IoT so that they can understand customer data. They're moving to the cloud and using APIs to connect the backbone with the front-end digital platforms. Augmented virtual reality, moving to 5G, digital twins, 3D printing over the next 4 to 5 years. And just a quick slide to wrap that up. If you move on, Sunando, what you can also see, and I'll put this in as a duplicate, is I wanted to just make sure I frame this correctly as I hand over to Sunando. The digital business organizations in the world that are being successful, and we've shown you who they are. They have that business model which is based on having platforms. They have to continue to manage and digitize their operational backbone. But what they now are doing is building new services in an agile way, call it their digital platform, and they're using cloud services plus business components and data components to give them the intel and the knowledge to drive their business forward. And this is and they link the backbone with the front-end digital platforms through APIs to move that data across. And with that said, I'm going to hand over to Sunando, who's going to go a little bit deeper on the digital platforms.
Perfect. Thank you, Kuldip, and thanks for setting the scene. So I'll start with this Uber story. I think most of you might be knowing this already, and you, if not, I'll try to for the next 30 seconds take you through that. So it occurred so that there were two, the two co-founders of Uber. Actually, eventually, one of them developed the company, Garrett Camp. But what they did was they were attending a webinar, not a webinar, sorry, we've done so many.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so they were attending a conference in Paris. And when they came out from the conference late in the night, it was a cold night, they couldn't find a cab. And it was quite frustrating, and you know how it feels. So so this gentleman, this was a napkin that he had carried out from the conference center. So he drew this, what you can see on the right, and that's pretty much is the birth of Uber. So if you see what he did was he just mapped the network effects effectively, which is connecting all the sides together. And eventually he had only one idea, which is a very simple idea how it turned out. So if a cab could be called to the user instead of, and with a handheld device. So that was his first thought, and that's how he built this model. And eventually we all know what has happened with Uber. Uber is valued at 2021 in January, $98.74 billion, so which is like $100 billion company in 10 years. And so what they did was, yes, Uber was born like that, but and that's exactly as Kuldip was saying, they started digitally. Their base was digital, so they could easily, yeah, add services and add their portfolio. So now we have Uber Eats, we have the self-driving model, we have the Uber Connect, which has significantly grown in the last 2 years since COVID happened. They have completely moved their drivers to do business for deliveries, which became the most sought after service in since COVID started. They came out with a Lime scooter hire, something similar, and over the years they did multiple acquisitions, so that so because they had the digital platform, they could very easily do that and move on. So yes, there are a few details on the left, and I'm sure you can read through them. So just wanted to give you an example of the Uber story to build the context for the platforms. So I'll move on. And again, it's not only Uber that we are looking at. So if you look at platforms, we pretty much every day interact with a lot of them, and we actually use them. Airbnb, I think most of us might have used in the last few years. It may not be in the last year or so, but prior to that, um, Facebook, I think one of the most biggest platform service that exists today. When we all know about Facebook, they acquired WhatsApp by 19 billion. So that's $19 billion. So that shows the way platform businesses can grow and basically bring in that network connect, where they connect the user and the provider. The most powerful and the biggest platform globally, I think everybody uses it pretty much, if not every day, once a week, maybe Amazon. It started in 1994, Amazon, as a online bookstore, and they quickly realized that they had unknowingly, it wasn't called a platform those days, it was an online bookstore. So they realized that they had the back end to support that. And in 2000, they realized that network effects is what is going to drive them, and they invested in third parties. So they connected third parties, and today, the market cap is $1.5 trillion, which is, and I think Kuldip shared the video, where, as you see, the company is going up and down, and that shows. And they've done the same thing pretty much like Uber. They've made logistics Prime. We all know about Amazon Prime, logistics. And I think they are. Google is another one, which I think everybody uses every day. So these are some of the platform businesses, and there are many examples which you can see on the slide. You can read about them. Alibaba, again, we saw Alibaba growing up, that video. Uber, we discussed. Airbnb. So all of them are doing in different field. Netflix, one of the most sought after businesses, platform services, since last year, at least since COVID happened. So and you can see the rest of the examples there. I'm sure there's enough content globally that you can read through. So so if we move on, so what exactly is a digital platform? And digital platform is not something new. Platforms as such existed in the past. A very simple example is, we don't look at them as platforms. Our shopping malls are a platform. They were platforms. They were connecting consumers and merchants. Newspaper was a platform, connecting the subscribers to the advertisers and the. So these platforms always existed. But what changed in the last 10 odd years is two things. I think obviously the use of internet and mobile phones, etc. The second most important thing was, I think, cloud computing, which again Kuldip touched upon earlier, significantly allowed these platforms to grow radically. And there was no shortage of, hardware or infrastructure. So that was never a problem. So this really took up, and that's how platforms develop. So if we define platforms, how do we define platforms? It's a very simple thing. It's a combination of hardware and software, and it has something called a network effects, which basically is a push and pull. So if we look at the diagram on the right side, we can very easily see what's a platform. A platform is, if you see, there are 4 key players in a platform. There's the owner, who effectively owns the IP. There's the providers, who actually, the interface with the users. There are the producers, who produce content or produce material, supply. And then there are the consumers, who are taking everything in. So effectively, these are the 4 groups of people. And as you see at the bottom of the diagram, it shows you the infrastructure or the hardware that I mentioned. So it's a combination of hardware and software together, which when works together, effectively delivers value. And that's the key thing when you're doing a platform. It gives you network effects, it delivers a value, and it should benefit both sides. So consumers, users, community, and everything is connected by 2 things: value and data. So that's pretty much is a platform. And we'll discuss as we go along, and happy to take any questions if you might have. So moving on. So again, a few examples, plus what I wanted to show here is the difference between a pipeline business and a platform business. So historically, in the past, it was pretty much pipeline business. So pipeline business had an input and an output driven by a set of resources which were in the middle, where the inputs were plugged in or brought in, resources worked on it, and outputs came out. So that's historically organizations have been working. And that's where platforms literally inverted the business, whereby they started looking at, yes, there's input and output even in platforms, but it's a combination from all sides. So what happened also, another example, which in 2007, and I was noticing the video when Kuldip, you were playing the video, I was noticing it was 2012, I think, and the company that I'm going to talk about came up in that list. So in 2007, if you recall, the biggest mobile brands, Nokia, Samsung, Motorola, Sony Ericsson, and LG. And what happened in 2007, I think most of us know, Apple came up. So, and it was not that Apple didn't come out with a platform, to be honest. They came out as a product. And they very quickly realized that as a product, yes, they had a unique design and a level of quality, but they very quickly realized that that's not going to deliver value only. And they started completely investing on platform. And that's where, if you go back to the video sometime, and when you have the video with you, have a look. It was 2011, 2012 only they came up that level, after they had introduced their iOS strategy and started developing things on it. So this is how typically that's the difference between a pipeline industry and a platform industry. Google is a very good example. Android. And effectively what they did was, between Android and iOS, as we know, all the incumbents they're gone effectively. They don't exist, or they're a distant third or fourth, I don't know where they are. So effectively what platforms do is unlike what pipeline businesses do. So they effectively turn around the business. So if we summarize this slide by saying, I think 3 things which are key platforms do. They do resource orchestration instead of resource control, which used to be the key in a pipeline business. Then what they do is, unlike in the past, and people who have been working in the industry for a while will know that organizations would always try to enhance internally and increase efficiency to create more value or create more revenue, save efficiencies. But what platforms did was they did external interaction. They preferred external interaction than internal optimization. So that's number two. And the number three is platforms started focusing on, which is the most important, I think, on customer value against an ecosystem value. So these are the three big differences between a pipeline and a platform business, which really, I think, which has transformed this whole digital space. So if I move on, so this is a very simple slide, and I'm not going to read out or talk much about it. These are the various types of platforms that are there. I mean, people can read them. There are technology platforms, and beyond these, actually, there are. If you look at in a different way, something again we had touched upon earlier. There are social media platforms, knowledge platforms, the likes of Coursera, and the other. If you see now, more and more, all the universities are going on a digital platform, because they've realized that's where they can really significantly enhance their market position. Media sharing platforms, YouTube, and a very good example is when Google acquired YouTube. Everybody said it was a waste of money, and now we all know who's laughing. so, so I mean, I had the opportunity to meet Google's digital head, and he's obviously very proud of the story. So yeah, so that's what I just wanted to give you an example of various types of platforms. So it's not that it's only one kind of platform. It's not only shopping or marketing or things like that. There can be platforms for everything. So with this, we'll go to a quick poll where, if I may ask you, this is a word cloud, and it's on a Slido in the same place. You should be able to do it. If you write a few words, what you think, now that we've discussed what platforms is, if you can think of what are the key characteristics of features in a platform, and we'll not take a lot of time. I'm just being conscious of the time. So if maybe 30 seconds, if people can write, you can write any as many words as you want and multiple answers. So and it would come up. Yeah. If people are logged into the same Slido, you can just put in. Yeah, so answers coming in. Yeah, customer centric, value of data. Yeah, convenience. Yeah, inside out and outside in. Yes, of course. Accessible, open. Yes, absolutely. Empower, scalable, cost effective. Yes, cost effective. Yes, I think that's very convenience. Okay, so that's coming up as the biggest answer. Yes, if we look at convenience from a network effects point of view, I think yes, absolutely, convenience is what people would be looking at when dealing with a platform where you have ease of business. But yeah, I think user friendly, compatibility. Another quick 10 seconds, otherwise we'll move on. Yeah, direct access, ease of use, place to promote goods, services. Yes, if we look at it in that way, yes, absolutely. It's something that industry has been using it quite well. So anybody else would like to add? Customer centric is coming up. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most important things, because the platform business thrives on network effect, so it has to be customer centric. Agile, yeah. Right. So we'll move on. The question is still open. If you want to answer, feel free to add. And once we have all the answers, we'll be putting this video and the slides, so you'll see what's come up. So just a few ones from our side, which you can read here. I mean, the ones we have already discussed, other than the features that we have spoken about. End of the day, it needs to do a few things. It needs to deliver value. It needs to cut access across the ecosystem. It needs to connect across the ecosystem. It's horizontally and very easy to use. People should be able to feel comfortable. I think pretty much the answers that we had seen in the previous slide. So, but there are four or five things which are very key in a platform to be successful. That's what the slide shows here. And if I may quickly go through each one of them. So openness means how easy it is to use and how easily people can access it. Facebook is the best example actually of openness. And if you think of Facebook, you know how it is. One of the key ones which is coming up, and I'll like to share that people can think through. I think all of us use now Office 365. That's really becoming, Microsoft are really pulling everything with Office 365 to bring it across a platform. They've realized they were enjoying Windows various versions for years, and I think now they've realized that once they go into Office 365, it's a game changer, because everything is connected with Office 365. So that's really something that I think people now that we've understood platforms, I think when we use Office 365, we can kind of relate how it works. And then the next one, I would say, or I'll club the two of them, the governance and the policy. I think they work hand in hand. This is where there has been a bit of a challenge, as many of you are aware of. Example of I think most people must be aware of the fight that Facebook were having with Australian government very recently, I think. And this is going to happen, because till today there are not very clear regulations and all in place. And this is something that anybody who works on a platform or delivers a platform, or as CIOs, if we build a platforms within our in businesses, we need to be careful about the regulatory requirements, the basic. So OECD, G20, cyber and AI laws, they're all trying to come in. They're not very consistent globally. So that's a bit of a challenge, but something that is absolutely imperative if you are building platforms. One of the key things is monetization. You'll never be allowed to build a platform if you can't monetize it. So it's important how we build in our services. And if you have noticed, some of the companies who launch platforms free of cost, and slowly they try to bring in cost. One of the very I think good examples is LinkedIn. They started as a free service, got all professionals in there, and now they have a I think a gold and different versions of LinkedIn that you can have. You can have LinkedIn Learning. You can have multiple services that they are introducing with a small cost, where people would the platform gets monetized. Policy we discussed. Metrics, another very important thing, which I think I'm not going to, I think everybody understands metrics. If we don't measure, we don't know what's happening. So it's important to have metrics in place. So anybody who's working on a platform needs to have these things. I'll just quickly move on to from a CIO's point of view. As business owners, as CIOs, as head of ITs, we are where we are. And if you're looking at building platforms within our organization and taking them, making them into the digital journey that Kuldip was talking about, I think we need to invest in platforms definitely within our businesses as they are. You call it build it on your ERP system, you build it on your digital marketing system, any systems that you have, you effectively you add the the various layers within the same to build it as a platform. So I'm not going to read what's there on the left side. On the right, you see a platform design canvas, which I really liked, and that's why I put it in here. If you start looking at where the green bits are, exchanges and channels, we start from there, and then you map them, and then you start again from your left to right. I think it's a good way to look at how we can build platforms even within our own organizations, and this can help develop our services. If it's a client-facing organization, definitely you would be able to monetize it, and make sure that everybody is brought in. So moving on. So some key success factors, because I think it's important if we launch a platform or launch any product which cuts across the industry. I think some of the things we need to keep in mind is they are written on the left. I think important. I'll just highlight a couple of them. I think incentivization is very important. Everybody should get a piece of the cake. If we can make it viral, if we can get a positive marketing on it, great, fantastic. And it is, I think the most important thing, it's not IT, it is the business. Even the people in IT need to understand it's for the business. People in business need to understand it is for them. It's not for IT. IT is only delivering. So if we have those and as I think all of us have already mentioned, that value is should come out. The organization should get value out of anything. On the right, I have shown, and I'm not going to go through them. There are examples also. So there are various platform strategies, and these are already established from the market. So it's nothing that I'm adding here, but these are various ways we can look at how we can start platforms, and even within our organizations, small organizations, we can look at these. There are examples which are quite relevant. I mean, PayPal is a very good example. Amazon, obviously, as we said, is pretty much the world's #1 platform. And yeah, we can look at these strategies. We can definitely work using them and build our platforms. If anybody has any questions on these, we can definitely look at them at the end. Moving on. So yeah, all's nice, but it's not always so easy, and there are certain challenges that we need to be aware of. And I think the most important is sometimes a narrow set of metrics can really kill your platform. So you need to widen your metrics to look at all sides of the platform. I think the most important one, which is a main reason for failure for platforms, is interaction failure. I think we spoke about Uber. There was another example, which is Lyft, 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 and I'm sure everybody's aware of, but very few people actually use it, because what happened was, when people started booking cars on Lyft, it was always showing cars are not available. So the interaction slowly reduced and people stopped using it. Engagement, or the lack of it. So if you don't have proper engagement, then it's definitely not going to work. And end of the day, it should be quality and value delivery should be there. If we can't show value out of a platform, it's very easy that it would stop working. So again, a few things are written. Happy to take questions maybe at the end. So with this, again, we'll do a quick swap. I'm going to hand it back to Kuldip for taking us through the last part and summarizing the session.
Sure. Are you going to make me a host again, or do I just go for this?
I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the host now.
Okay, thank you, Sunando. Hopefully, can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
Slide.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is just give a bit of a starting point for digital change and transformation, and introduce a brand new platform that we've developed to aid organizations on a digital change. Can we, I'm going to just make sure that you're on mute. Give me a second.
You go ahead. I'll drop a message here.
Yeah, I've got it. Done it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so digital transformation is complex. It's not easy. So if you started as a digital native, right, you're on a great journey. But how do you transit? And we saw in the poll surveys, organizations are the majority, 30–40%, were the traditional organization, and they're still transitioning to become a digital native, and they may be in the middle. So, and as you go on digital change journeys, you need to either re-energize, rescope, rethink your plan, have a look at if you've got benefits realization. Are you going in the right direction? And typically, if you don't know where you are, having a map doesn't really help. So you need to think about some foundations and some building blocks. And I've just given 4 buckets. Everybody can see them here. One is about understanding your plan, your approach, your strategy, your vision, scoping, ideation, architecting what you're going to develop and deliver to go on that digital platform development journey as organization. You need to have the leadership, sponsorship and support behind you. You need to track your benefits realizations, your KPIs. You need to understand your customer needs. You need to integrate your platform with your suppliers, with your customers. You need to have the engagement. You need to continually be having feedback loops, so you are developing things in smaller bite-sized chunks, so you're getting that feedback and iterating and changing and adapting as you go along. And you're delivering and you're reporting, and you need to really do some organizational change. And that means understanding the culture of your organization, how you communicate, what capabilities you need. And remember, digital platforms in the ecosystem are all about developing your business in the gig economy. And the gig economy requires a different mindset and a different capability set to deliver, not just coding and Python. I'm talking about supplier management, customer management, stakeholder management skills. It requires a different type of leadership. And it's a mindset shift. So I'm going to skip this slide. What we did is we've developed a platform. We've developed a digital transformation gamification platform. And this platform allows organizations to understand where they are and actually play in a gamification, simulate a number of strategic and tactical maneuvers that they can make, and see what the future outcomes could be by playing those strategic and tactical maneuvers. And we go through this cycle of considering your maneuvers, implementing them in the gamification, observing them on a number of dashboards, and there's a number of KPIs, which are operating margin, profitability, customer improvement, benefits realized from new services, reducing incidents. So this gamification is all about understanding what options you have in your as an organization, and what best practices and what things you can bring in to bring about the change or the re-energization of your organization. And it also acts as a way of team building, getting different perspectives and ideas and thoughts, so that you can build a better business and digital business going forward. We relaunched it in January, and we've been delivering this gamification to a number of organizations, and it's really adding tangible value in terms of starting their journey or re-energizing their journey. Sunando, is this? I know that you're on a similar journey. Is any thoughts do you have on this one?
Yeah, no, I think I've had we've had Kuldip and I had few good discussions around this, and we are going ahead with this gamification journey, because I see the value whereby it shows, things where you can look at change management, development, not only developing your team, developing the mindset, where as technology and business professionals, how we can develop. And I think this I've seen a demonstration, and I think it's something that I'm definitely looking at, looking forward to using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you remember, as I said, digital change, building that platform type business, which requires a different type of leadership and a different type of mindset. And this enables you to virtually immerse yourself in what that could be, and to aid improvement in your organization to go in the right direction. So let me just sum up, because time's flown by. Here's some key takeaways. So I hope you understand that digital transformation really requires inspirational leadership. It requires collaboration, influence, agility, being customer centric, using data to get insights, and importantly, getting the foundations, those 4 pillars that I talked about, in line. Technology change and adoption is the norm. Embrace the pace of change from technology. Make sure you pilot things, make sure you create minimal viable products, but create them in small chunks. And if you fail fast, learn from those failures and move on to the next thing. And that is one of the norms that's in place now. Technology platform businesses have been successful. If you recall back from the initial video, those giants in the industry are tech organizations that have built platform businesses using technology. And it's always important to manage your core operations with innovating and bringing in new services and platform services. A great way to start your transformation journey is to simulate what could your future look like against various KPIs. And simulation training provides experiential learning, empowering people with the tools and the plays to make change happen. Looking at stability and agility, it's educational, it's fun, it's competitive, and it really adds value to your organization. And my final poll, we're going to kind of conclude with, you've been listening to us very intently, but we'd like to hear from you about what you would like us to talk about as a final survey. And shall I just do it from my desktop, Sunando?
Yeah. I think if you just use the web.
Yeah. So if you can see, hopefully you can see my screen in a minute. We'd like you to tell me, Sunando, if you can see my screen with the Slido.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to the
next one. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here are those options. What would you like to hear about next, based on what we've discussed? There's the digital transformation simulation training. Would you like to hear more about platform strategies, data analytics, data management, innovation in technology, maturity models, AI, developing technology roadmaps, agile DevOps? And I also noticed there's a couple of questions coming in.
Yeah, it's people can answer more than one. So
yeah, please go back into your Slido. There are the barcodes there. Please tell us about what you would like us to talk about in more detail. I'm delighted to have the number 1 at the top at the moment. So I'd love to talk to people about that, because it's really resonating with people in the sense that you play something in a safe environment before you go and make it tangible in your own business. Please continue to vote. And I do know that we are coming close to the...
maybe shall we start take some questions as we...
Let me just, finally do one thing. Just give me a second. I want to make sure we've got 8 people in there. Yep. So I think we've given... I'll give it another 5 seconds, then we switch to Q&A. Thank you, everybody. I think we're pressing for time. So I'm going to flip back to the presentation and finally continue to vote in Slido. You have access. We would like you to all connect with us. We'd like you to ask us questions. You should be able to start your videos, and you should be able to ask a question verbally as well. I'm trying to unmute everybody, if I can do that. You should be able to unmute yourselves now. If you have a burning question, please do fire ahead. But you do have our contact details as well. I do have some comments coming in. More thank yous, Sunando, for you. There's a thank you from Michael Miller. Thank you from Nabil. Thank you for your comment. Amazing session. And thank you from Natalie for a very good presentation. That was not Natalie, was it? Or somebody else?
It's John. I can't
John.
change the name. I've tried numerous times. Apologies.
Yeah, sorry. You did say at the beginning, John.
I had a very quick question for you whilst I'm off on mute and explaining my I don't have a dodgy second persona. The simulation model, we talked about maturity models earlier, digital native going down to the kind of enterprise monolithic stacks.
Yep.
Your simulation model, does it apply to all of those?
What it does, it takes you on that maturity journey. So thinking of your IT working with the business, it simulates you building in real stable, secure, reliable IT function, and then taking the IT with the business to getting the development world and the new features with the building platform kind of services, maturing it to that, bringing in DevOps, ITIL best practices, aligning the demand with the business in IT. So you're kind of going on that level 1 to 5 maturity journey, and you play rounds. So as a facilitator, I coach the attendees, who can be between 5 or 10 people on a workshop. I coach them through the rounds, and we bring people together at the end of each quarter. So it's 12 rounds, 4 quarters, and each quarter we bring them together and we learn about, well, what you made those maneuvers, what did that happen to you, what was the impact of that on your KPIs, and we compare each other's, and you get that experiential learning. So John, would love to demo that to you if that's of interest to you. Please drop me a note.
And I think it's industry agnostic, so which is great.
Yeah. Absolutely, Sunando.
It's a great idea. I think it's a very great idea. I like the idea of the gamification and simulation model you built. It's great. Yeah.
You're actually an airline company. I know that's not a great time, but because when we used to do the in-room in-house, and it was a global airline, so you're a global airline in a market sector of 250 on the leaderboard, and you have to progress up the leaderboard against those KPIs as you go round by round. And I can take you through that, John. No issues. And the thing is, it's not like classroom going through slides. It's really interactive, and it's virtual, and it's really fun. It's fun, and you're not breaking anything, right?
Great, thank you.
No problem, John. Any more questions, Sunando?
Yeah, there's a question from Michael Miller. Final survey, none of the above. Why are none of the leading companies are European? How do we get our politicians and finance institutions to support as they do in US and China?
That's a big question, Michael. That is a real big question. If I had a magic wand to get the politicians in Europe aligned to get the investment in tech, I'd probably be a billionaire now. But yes, it's a great fact, isn't it? If you look at those companies, they're mainly the US ones.
I think, if I might, I think China was sort of left off, and my experience of China has been, I've been quite amazed over the last couple of years. I didn't expect to see what I saw when I visited and was asked to speak over there.
Yeah, and
amazed. Sorry.
In my survey, in the video, Alibaba and Tencent, I think Tencent is going to be the bigger than all of them eventually.
But it's not just IT, and there's Huawei, and I'm seeing things that it looks like the Philippines is going to have a better national communication system than we have in the UK. And what I'm concerned about, I don't expect you to solve the political problem, but there is a problem in Europe, and I'm concerned about the future of our young, and how when you try to get a business off the ground here, it's very difficult to get finance, where there are those. I'm not saying it's easy in the United States or China, but there is certainly long-term money, where here everything seems short-term. So I don't want to, you've done excellent work. It's been a great webinar, but there's an underlying problem, and I'm not sure how to go about it, to be honest. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. I don't want to.
No, it's interesting. I don't know if it's what I would say, and I'm happy to be corrected, Michael. It's back to that mindset. It's that mindset and leadership, and maybe some of the governance that goes with it. Slightly different. I think the US has gone through that mindset shift faster, and then now Asia and maybe Europe is lagging.
Yes, but it doesn't bode well for our young. That's my concern, and the future economies in Europe, and we need to move that on. In some sense, Germany seems to be taking a lead in some ways, but I know it's a much bigger question and not for today. But I think for companies like yourself and what you're trying to do, I think it's a very important question that needs urgently to be addressed. Anyway, thank you very much for everything today. Sorry, I'll shut up now.
No. Listen, Michael, I know you well, ish, and we've had some great conversations around this, and that's a big one to solve. But certainly food for thought. Absolutely, Michael. No, we do appreciate your comments and thoughts. We have gone over time, so I am going to, if you don't mind, Sunando and everybody, we are going to bring the webinar to a close. I want to thank you, everybody who's attended the session, their feedback, their input into the poll service, and importantly, a big thank you to Sunando for joining me and sharing your knowledge around the platforms piece. And we wish you all a good day, and thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any final thoughts from you, Sunando? Anything?
No, I think again, really enjoyed the session. I hope the listeners did as well. And thank you for taking time.
Yeah.
And look forward to maybe having another session in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. We got the poll results, so I know what I'm going to be presenting. Well, we will be presenting next, hopefully. Thank you very much. With that said, we will be putting the webinar to a close, and see you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.